Right before we jump into this video, if you haven't signed up for the Phronos Photo email list, just look for this orange box over on the website, put your name, email address in it, hit send it, and I will send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations. Jared Polin, phronosphoto.com, and this is a preview of the Sigma 50mm to 100mm f1.8 art lens. Now what you have to know is that this is a cropped sensor lens only that's priced at $1,099. Now I'm going to hold my opinion to the end after I give you all the facts about this lens. Now, you heard me say that it's a fixed 1.8 zoom. That is a pretty cool thing to have at 1.8. Now a lot of people will say, oh, it's 1.8. Is it like 1.8 on full frame? No, but I don't get super technical about this stuff. It's going to give you kind of the equivalent feel of what a 2.8 would be on a full frame lens in terms of the bokeh and out of focus areas. I'll get to that more in a minute. But this is a crop sensor lens only, which means that on a Nikon, it's the equivalent of a 75 to 150 millimeter 1.8 lens on a DX camera. And on the Canon side, it's an 80 millimeter to 160 millimeter f1.8. So you have to keep that in mind that you are not purchasing this for a full frame lens. It is meant to be on a DX sensor size body only. Now, it has no OS built in. If it built in the optical stabilization, you would probably add a lot more money to the price of this lens. But I think a lens like this needs to have optical image stabilization. It weighs in at 3.5 pounds, which is still pretty heavy when you think about a lens like this. And it has an 82 millimeter filter thread on the front, which is pretty darn large in comparison to what a 70 to 200 2.8 looks like, where you generally have a 77 millimeter filter thread. Now, you have to ask yourself, is this the lens that you want to buy in contrast to purchasing, say, the Sigma 70 to 200 2.8 OS, which is only $49 more than this lens right now? And what that means is that it's a full frame lens. You can use it on your crop sensor cameras, and you can grow with it as you grow into a full frame sensor body. Because this is my opinion part now. It's something that you have to look at. It's hard enough to have beginner photographers understand that lenses are more expensive than bodies, generally speaking. But when you're talking about a lens like this, it's very hard to help somebody at the very beginning to understand that they should spend $1,099 on a crop sensor lens that if they decide to go full frame, they can't use it. That's the issue that I'm having here. But one of the cool features that I didn't mention is that as you zoom, the focus stays where it was. So if you're at 50 and you zoom out to 100, theoretically the focus is supposed to hold throughout that range, which is a really cool function. Before I get back to the opinion, the adapter. They came out with an adapter called an MC11, which is for Sony E-mount lenses. That means you can use any full frame or the newer full frame and the newer DX sensor cropped lenses on the Sony cameras. It's great to see a company like Sigma making a mount that will allow you to autofocus your lenses, the Canon and the Sigma versions, on a Sony mount. So it's expensive for what it is, especially for the fact that you can get a 70 to 200 2.8 for $49 more. You have a longer range. Yes, it's a 2.8. It's not an f1.8 all the way through. And Sigma does need to update their art line or sport line of the 70 to 200. But I find it hard to justify spending $1,099, basically $1,100, on a short zoom range lens. The equivalent of 75 to 150 is a little short. I like having a 70 to 200 where I'm getting more bang for my buck. No, it's not as wide when you put it onto a crop sensor lens, but in most cases when you're shooting sports or nature, you want that extra reach. So it really comes down to, is somebody going to spend $1,100 on a crop sensor lens? Because a lot of professionals have full frame bodies and move to full frame bodies, and I don't think that this lens is something that's going to keep you from going to full frame. I think it's a little expensive for what it is. Is it a great lens that Sigma is putting out here? Absolutely. Sigma has been crushing the lens market with their contemporary and their art and their sports lenses. They've been doing a fantastic job there. But I find it hard to convince somebody to purchase a crop sensor lens for $1,100 when you can get the 70 to 200 for $14.99. And yes, people will sit there and say, but it's not an f1.8. So what? Seriously, so what? There's trade-offs. There's pros and cons to both sides. Now, what's your opinion? Would you spend $1,100 on this lens for your DX camera, or does it not matter because you're full frame and this zoom short 50 to 100 doesn't matter because it doesn't matter for you? That's where I'll leave it. That's an interesting lens from Sigma. Great job on what they're doing right now, but I just wanted to share the specs as well as my opinion on that lens. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube or Facebook, please go ahead and do that right now. Give us a like, give us a subscribe so you can be notified when new videos go live.